Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Life Conversations with a Twist. I have the honor of having Aspen on my podcast today. We just met. Again, this is probably like my new thing is like meeting all these amazing women all over the world. And that's what I really like about these conversations is it's really organic because I don't know anything about you. And so it's like real talk of like learning your story and your journey and everything you have going on. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I am so excited. I was telling you before, this is my first podcast, first time really, talking all about myself and the things that I've gone through and, how it's gotten me to where I am today. And I am so excited to have this organic conversation and just, learn about each other and hopefully inspire people along the way.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so tell everyone a little bit about who you are, where do you live, your family life, and then we'll just dive right into your story.
Okay, perfect. My name is Aspen. I am 27, living in south of Tampa, so I'm in Florida. I, soak in the sunshine every day. It's like my, vitamins. I think that everyone should just be outside, enjoying nature, breathing in a little oxygen, getting off of our phones. I think that that's huge for self-care, and that's, what I do. I'm also a mom to a little 1-year-old girl who is my entire world. She inspires me every day to work hard and create a legacy for her, really. So that's why I do what I do.
I love that.
And
Where in
what I
Florida are you?
is cannabis. I'm south of Tampa, so it's a little town called Safety Harbor, and it's tucked away in Clearwater, which is a major tourist attraction. But there's a little town called Safety Harbor. It's very homey, one main street, and yeah, we love it.
I love it. Okay, so what is like your full-time job? Like what is it that you do every single day besides be a mom?
What I do, right, being a mom is so full time, like we were saying. I am the CEO of a telemedicine company, and our telemedicine connects doctors with patients for medical marijuana cards. So we are completely cannabis focused. We don't have appointments for anything else at this time besides medical marijuana cards. And we basically help patients educate them on what it means to get legal, why they should get legal, where they can get legal online. And I run a team of mostly women, and we have, support, marketing, operations, all the things that, make us one of the best in the country.
I love that. I'm curious why if I have this question, I'm sure other people do. Why do you need a cannabis card to get cannabis?
Yeah, so federally, cannabis is still illegal. So if you are in the medical state of, or we can even go recreational. So medical cannabis is where you can only get cannabis legally with a medical card. Recreational cannabis in a state like Colorado or California, that's very popular. You can just buy it without a medical card. So in many states, let's say Louisiana, for example, you can't just go buy cannabis. You do need a medical card. And every single state operates differently. So there is a different set of medical conditions. There is a different state application process. There's a different doctor process, whether you can do it online or not. So we're live in 18 states and no two are the same. It's
Interesting.
very, yeah, we have to be able to pivot because laws also change, very quickly.
And you had to probably stay on top of that, of like knowing what each state is doing at each time.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to keep track of like, okay, are they about to go recreational? And people, think they might not need a medical marijuana card anymore. Is this state no longer going to have tax savings for patients that have medical cards? And is that really going to affect the market? What should we do in that situation? For example, in Arkansas, the first time you get a medical card, you have to go in person, but every single renewal after that, you can go online. So it's just these little caveats of like, okay, are we operating legally? Are we doing it correct? Are we following what's, the most up-to-date thing on these state laws? Because there's not one uniform platform where you can find every single most up-to-date cannabis law. It's like a research R&D all the time, constant R&D.
Well, I'm from California, and I do remember years ago, if you wanted to have marijuana, you had to get a card. So it was like a thing, right? Now, like literally, I mean, right down the
Yeah.
street from my office, we have cannabis stores all over and they're popping up all over. And I have a friend who owns one in one of our local towns and I want her to come on because like she has like made so many moves
Wow.
and especially being like a woman-owned cannabis store. So it's really cool. It's interesting to see because I'm like, literally, you could drive down the street and someone's like smoking. I mean, edibles are easy access. You can get CBD drinks now at like your local grocery store. So it's wild to think that like there's other states that you can't do that.
It's so crazy. Yeah, you go and you're in one state and it's like, okay, is this an Apple store? Are they selling iPads or weed here? What's going on? And then the next it's like, if you smell it, don't let the cops see you. And I'm like, okay, you really have to be able to pivot and you can't go across state lines with it. Even though it could be legal in both Missouri and Illinois, you can't cross state lines with cannabis. It's federally illegal. So that's where that medical card kind of comes into play. It's great for tax savings. It's great for, people that are on parole and getting drug tested. You can say, okay, I have an actual reason to be doing this. And, medical condition can be up to you and the provider. It doesn't always have to be, I have cancer, I'm dying. It can be, I have chronic pain, I can't sleep. Like, cannabis helps a lot more than just the mainstream reasons.
And I definitely want to dive into that whole conversation about cannabis versus like medicine and pharmacy, all the pharmaceutical
Yeah.
drugs. But I do want to ask you, like, how did you even get to this? Like, how did you start this business? Like, it's not something you wake up and you're like, I am going to help people get access to cannabis. So, like, how did you get here?
Yeah, it's so specific. And I think it's so cool. Every time you hear a success story, it's like, how did you pick such a specific thing and really go after it? So, like a lot of people, I kind of fell into it. Life experiences and who I met and made connections with kind of brought me here. But when I was 9 years old, I was diagnosed with ADHD. Within a year, put on ADHD medication like Concerta, Adderall, Vyvanse. I had been through all of them, was taking the max allotment, if you will, of all of those as well by the time I was 18. And then at 18, I went off to college. Like many people, discovered cannabis. But what I hadn't, realized is that whenever I consumed cannabis, I did not need my ADHD medication. Slowly weaning from Vyvanse to cannabis, I was realizing I might not need it at all. I'm actually like a lot of side effects I didn't realize were affecting me on the day to day were going away. And I thought that that was very cool. I had this, newfound interest in holistic health and medicine and avoiding food dyes. So it kind of felt natural that I was going to go toward this holistic path. And at the time, I was going to be a dietitian in college. So I was looking into diet and all of those things. And then I was just like, there's no way if I, just have ADHD, if I'm just neurodivergent, people are going through way more serious things that cannabis could help a lot of people. So I joined Normal, my local Normal organization. It's called the National Organization for the Reform of Medical Marijuana Laws. It's a long name,
Yeah.
but it's very easy to join. There are chapters all across the country in every single city and state, which is very cool. And within 6 months of joining, I became the president in my town of the Normal convention. We had events, we had speakers, and I was able to make a ton of connections in the industry. And I eventually started opening dispensaries with a group of men in Kansas City. I had just networked, they needed a position filled. I obviously was graduating college and filling that position. And during time there writing SOPs, I think I just really was looking for more out of my personal life because I was in Missouri, love Missouri, grew up there, but there's not sunshine every day. It's not just this beautiful place where you look out the window and feel inspired. I don't think I saw a Porsche in my hometown growing up ever, where now I can look out the window and, I see G-Wagons driving by and it's just very inspiring and people do very well. And so I was like, how can I, work from home, be in the cannabis industry? What's the mix? And that was telemedicine. So I started taking support calls at the company I'm currently the CEO of. I helped patients do forms. I did literally support calls and eventually became the director of operations, eventually oversaw our finances. And then when our CEO stepped down, he was like, there's no one better. No one knows this company the way that you do, every single state, every caveat, every process that we have, go ahead and put your spin on it. And we've grown 20% in the past year. So we're
Wow,
doing
good
pretty
job.
good.
Good job. So all of that from being like that, starting your job to that, how many years was that? I mean, how old are you now? You said you're 24?
I'm 27.
27. Okay,
Yeah.
so
So
three
it's
years.
been 7, yeah, 3. I've been at Elevate Holistic since I graduated in, well, I guess I wasn't right away. I've been at this company for 5 years.
Okay.
And I've
Wow.
been in the cannabis industry since 19 when I started with Normal.
Like you start businesses like later in life, right? Like 30s, 40s, or your career trajectory
Yeah.
just takes off then. And now here you are, like now, you know what I mean? At like 20 years old, being able to
Yeah.
have that success. So that's so cool.
I agree. And I one day realized no one's coming. There is no invitation. No one's going to start, no one's going to work hard for me. There's no one coming. And that was my thing. And so I started doing everything myself. And I was a perfectionist. I wanted everything to be perfect. And the needle wasn't moving. Things weren't happening because everything was so perfect all the time. And so I thought, okay, let's just do. Let's just do as much as humanly possible with grit and our soft skills and what we have, and done became better than perfect. And now we're able to move the needle a little bit every day. And I would love to be the best in the industry within 2 years. I would love to be the biggest telehealth provider for medical cards.
How
So that's
many
the
are
goal.
there? How many businesses do this? Is it like a saturated market? Is there only a few? Do you have a lot of competitors?
Yeah, at the beginning, we were one of 5. It was not very popular. Now there are probably 100 doctors across the country that are seeing patients, calling them over the phone, doing stuff with them. When it comes to full-blown companies that have multiple providers, HIPAA compliant forms, support phone numbers for you to call and get help, less than 10.
Oh, and you're one of them, one of 10.
So not, yeah, yeah.
Wow. How many is on your
So
team?
we have a team of 50 people,
Oh,
and the hack there is that only 5 are in-house. So we contract our providers, we contract help, and I think that really creates nice levers for me to crank things up or pull them down as needed, because the in-house team is so small. We can really focus on trying different things to see what works.
mhm. That's so cool. So talk to me about, I mean,
Yeah.
so you've been in the cannabis world for a long time. To me, that feels like a long time.
Yes.
How have you seen that industry
Yeah.
change? I
My
mean, I
adult
think
life.
it's definitely like making a huge change and shift in our world now. Can you talk about like some of the changes and what you've experienced in your time in cannabis?
Absolutely. When I first entered the cannabis space, it was so medical focused, so patient focused, so education focused, and which is great. That was, my passion. And that was so exciting to be able to teach people about cannabinoids and strains and terpenes and, how it's not doesn't have to be a bad experience, and really educating people. And I thought that was so cool. And then you saw waves of states going medically legal, because at that point, okay, we might not need to unleash it to the public, but if you have a serious ailment, people should be able to get a medical card. And that's happened. At least 10 states have gone medical since I've entered the industry. And then what happened about 3, 4 years ago was the big recreational push. So Missouri went recreational. New Jersey basically ditched their medical program when they went recreational. A lot of people started losing the education, kind of just going price, like a race to the bottom. Like, I just want the cheapest weed. I want to be able to get high. I don't care if it's legal. I don't care if it's a medical card, all of these things. And so now this past year, the circle's coming back to medical of like, okay, people are having bad experiences. People are consuming too much. People are not happy with their product. The industry's losing money. And so it's refocusing on, hey, tax savings with a medical marijuana card. You don't have to pay an 18% tax like they have on cannabis in Arizona, which is literally wild. By getting a medical card, you could make 2
18%?
purchases and pay it off in savings. Yes. It's like astronomical for recreational cannabis versus
Wow.
medical. And so it's kind of coming back around, and people are like, well, I've been smoking weed for years now, but I'm really interested in the terpenes and the cannabinoids and what can help me in particular. And I want to focus. And so we're kind of seeing this like comeback of like, hey, medical's important and medical cards are important. And even though in Pennsylvania they might go recreational soon, partners and dispensaries are really focused on helping the medical patients and making sure people are staying legal. And if you need more allotment, let us help you get it. And that way, when you hit the state's allotment, you don't have to go to the street for the rest. So it's really, really been full circle and fun to watch, especially being in such, a medical space of it. I'm like, yes, let's stay on the medical side. Like, I think caffeine can be abused. Cannabis is obviously, it's a plant, but it's a drug too. Cocaine's technically a plant if we want to get that into it, and that's not very good for you either.
Yeah.
So I think that there's this balance of like, there should be education, there could be cards, there should be a doctor, guiding your process, but also people should have access to it.
Absolutely. I mean, in my experience, especially here locally, I mentioned we have a lot of cannabis dispensaries, but you go in there and you're like, I just want something that I can sleep, like that's going to help me sleep. I don't want to be like high. I just want to be relaxed. Or you go in and be like, I want to get high as hell and like pass out. And like there's so many products now and it's very overwhelming, but they like help you match you to the right product that is going to get you
Yeah.
what you need.
Right. And 15 years ago, it's like, listen, we have weed. I don't know what it's going to do for you.
I mean, I'm gonna age myself. I'm 43, and and when cannabis was a thing, I was like, weed, like you got a bong or you had a joint, and like that's how you consumed cannabis. And now it's like we have edibles and we have drinks, and like it's crazy how
Lotion.
it's
There's
changed.
cannabis lotion.
Lotion, yeah, oils, yeah.
It kind of works. Like if you've ever had a sore muscle and put cannabis lotion on, I'm like, I obviously consume cannabis. I already believe in it. And I'm still amazed by it sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, my neck doesn't hurt anymore. Like how exciting.
I mean, yeah, definitely. Okay, so you are in the medical world. So you get to help all these patients who come in with all these medical issues saying, I need help. And like what are some of the success stories that you've seen with people maybe consuming a lot of like pharmaceutical drugs and now have converted over to cannabis for for relief and to feel better and like what has your experience been and is there any like really cool stories that you've seen change for people?
That stand out. Yeah, the most standout story I have is someone I know's grandmother has Alzheimer's and they sundown. That's a term where at night, it's very discombobulating. The memories are just not coming back. And so whenever and it's so funny because this same grandma is so against cannabis. Like if she knew the family was giving her, cannabis, she'd be like, what the heck? Of course she's not smoking it. And so they give her a tincture under her tongue. And within 30 minutes, she is like on her iPad playing games and like ready for bed. And I feel like I even get like kind of choked up talking about it because people's personalities can change from a little bit of oil. And I feel like the fact that people don't access it or are scared to access it, like it is so life-changing for this woman. And like aging can be so scary. And I feel for her. I can't imagine not understanding the people taking care of you and for a little bit of oil to like save her every single night without fail, I think is so cool. And there was another guy when I was doing support, when I very, very first started, at Elevate and I was taking calls full time, people would call me back after trying cannabis for the first time because, medical cards were newer. This was 5 years ago. It wasn't like, I'm renewing or I've tried it before and I want to try it again, but, now just legally. They were saying, thanks for I wouldn't convince people, but thanks for convincing me to try this. I'm so happy I tried this. I've been on opioids for 10, 15 years. The guy I'm thinking of in particular was in a motorcycle accident. And so he was just always, always in pain from, I guess, obviously the crash. But he said he was on opioids. He went to some clinic and he completely detoxed from opioids and they allowed him to have cannabis the entire time. And he was telling me that while the opioids interact with these addictive receptors, the cannabis would fill, those same receptors, but it's not addictive, obviously, but it still kind of nourish those pain receptors. And I thought that that was really cool. Like it decreases inflammation. It made him more relaxed. And so even if he was in pain, it's like, okay, well, he would just kind of care less. And so I'm not sure if you're aware of the opioids and what they can do for you. But this guy was basically like, I am having regular bowel movements. I feel like I can eat meals without getting up and having to stretch. And those little things are what make life worth living. Like if every meal you had to get up and like help your leg every single time, you were just trying to sleep. It's those little things that just make living, not worth it sometimes. And so if a little cannabis can help this guy and he's going to call me back, someone taking phone calls just to tell me how much, he appreciated it, that's really, really cool to me.
So interesting. Yeah, I mean, I look back at before we started recording, I was saying, like I'm in wine country, so we drink a lot of wine. And I'm in the hospitality, so we really drink a
Yeah.
lot of wine. But there's this like whole
Yeah.
conversation now about like, hey, like let's take a gummy or let's have a CBD drink or like just try different ways because like you're not hungover, you don't feel like crap usually.
Yeah.
And I like think back to some of like my very fond memories of like sitting with like a group of girlfriends just like laughing our asses off and like it's so much fun. And when you drink wine, like half the time you don't remember because for what
Yeah,
whatever,
right.
because wine and alcohol messes with you. But I don't know. I've been trying to like change that narrative for people and it's been really cool. And some really cool memories have evolved because of it.
I love that so much. I feel like cannabis, and I mean, obviously, I love wine too. I'm not, I don't
Yeah.
discriminate, but I'll actually do both together. I think I find that
Yeah.
very relaxing. But what's fun about cannabis, if you're like using it recreationally and you want to lose control a little bit, it's like such a happy loss of control. Like you're
Yeah.
giggling uncontrollably, or you're like, oh my gosh, I literally am going to pass out on this couch with all of my friends and they're just going to be, laughing at me because I cannot keep my eyes open. And I think that that form of losing control is way healthier than like, jumping into a lake, right? It's like, okay, we're losing control, we're having fun, we're letting loose, but just in such a, I don't know, mature way. It feels elevated.
Absolutely. I'm curious about this ADHD because obviously, like, cannabis has helped you through this. And I'm
Yeah,
sure you hear more and more, like, it's being more diagnosed, probably now than ever, especially like in young adults and kids and
yeah.
stuff. Do you see cannabis being one of the biggest changes to help people like with ADHD?
I think absolutely anytime that the first solution is pharmaceutical drugs, we should question our providers. Like, why are we not changing diet and removing red 40? Why are we not introducing CBD, an element that does not get you high at all? It can't get you high. There's no THC in it. And it's going to help relax a child and help them maybe focus on their schoolwork for a little bit. I think that it was very, very life changing for me. And I think it's worth a try. I mean, there's literally no harm in it. You can always go back, but I don't think that we should jump to pills as the first line of defense when we find a problem with someone or something that's just a little bit different with people. Like, let's try to use the earth and these holistic treatments to change things first. And if that doesn't work, okay, cool. Science. We've got it.
I don't know. I've always been a pill popper, not because like that sounds really bad, but like I've always like gone to the doctor and I have a headache and I'll pop like a Tylenol, right? Like or ibuprofen, right? It's always been something we've grown up doing, right? You're sick, you have a symptom, let's treat it.
Yeah.
And I now doing like my
Yeah.
retreats and kind of getting into this like spiritual like world and like cannabis and people are talking about mushrooms and like how like the medical world is changing so much and so many people are now like I don't want to go to the doctor because all they're going to do is prescribe me some pills like and there's very limited like holistic doctors like you
Yes.
guys
Look
who are
out there.
providing them like another way.
Yeah, exactly. And especially for the right price. If you go to a holistic doctor, they don't take insurance. You're paying out of pocket for that kind of thing. So finding a doctor that's like, okay, am I going to get this for a good price? Is this going to be a good opinion? What kind of vitamins and supplements are they going to be, recommending to me? You just want to look into reviews. I think reviews are so huge because if you're getting your money's worth, has this doctor worked for other people? Have
Mhm.
their vitamin has this regimen helped people? And yeah, I mean, I grew up the exact same way. You're sick, take medicine, and it works. And being someone that is super into holistic medicine, I'm always going to go back to that if the holistic route's not working because it works for a reason.
Mhm.
I believe in science. I do. But I think that, we can try other things first before jumping to it.
Yeah. What are your thoughts around mushrooms? Like, I know that's like the new thing too, that is emerging as, ways to help people, ways to go get people through trauma. Do you know much about it? Do you
Yeah.
dabble in that? Do you like, what is your take on that?
Yeah, we actually looked into telehealth um, psilocybin appointments for people like veterans to try psilocybin and go on retreats and,
Mhm.
legally consume. I am a huge fan of mushrooms, honestly. I think that they can be a window into this is kind of hippy dippy. I think it's kind of a window into your soul, and you just get to let the reality kind of fog away for a minute and go back to what truly matters to you. And I think that if people get to experience that, they call them, what do they call them? I know in college it's called a trip, a journey, or an experience, something like that. We'll call it a journey. But going on like this 8 hour fully inundating experience where, you aren't in reality, you are kind of in your own world and you get to experience thoughts that may not have come up and you have realizations that, feel very intense and very real. And I think that it's very, very life changing. I have heard from a lot of people, a lot of veterans actually in particular, because there's a retreat in Colorado. They do them all the time for veterans. They rent out an Airbnb and they all go on this journey together. And I mean, it's life changing. People feel connected to themselves. They feel like they have purpose. And I think that's so important. If you don't have purpose, what are you doing?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I've seen people
So
go
I
through
think it's
some of
great.
these experiences and get through some real heavy trauma and be a better person on the other side. I haven't done it, but it's coming up more and more. It's been interesting.
It's
What?
very cool. I also am a fan of guided journeys,
Yeah.
guided experience. Maybe don't do it alone
Yeah.
because, like I said, reality goes away.
Yeah. I have heard, I
In a good
just
way, in a
had
good way.
a girl recently on my podcast that did that. And so yeah, it's cool. She's like, sometime you should do
Very
it, but
interesting.
you're not ready yet. And I'm like, okay, I'm not ready. I'll wait. That's fair enough.
You'll know when it's so weird, but you'll like know when you're ready. And even after you do it, I mean, I take 2 years in between each journey. I think that I need fully time to comprehend what happened, implement the things that I learned from my, higher self, and then okay, I'll be ready again. But like there, it is intense.
Talk to me, and educate my listeners a little bit about THC and CBD, because I think people are always kind of confused by the two. I think there's another type, but I feel like those are like the two main ones. What are the difference, and like what do each one do you think in a medical world help with more? Like when you prescribe something for somebody, like why would you do THC over CBD?
Yeah, great question. So we're talking about cannabinoids. So CBD, THC, CBN, THCA, they are all keys. And we have locks in our bodies. They're called cannabinoid receptors within our endocannabinoid system. Everyone has one. It's not talked about within schools, or at least wasn't when I was there. But it's, a lot more information is coming out about it now. So we all have these, locks that are ready to be opened with these keys. So whenever you have CBD, this is just going to go to that exact receptor. That receptor is not going to get you high. There is no euphoric sensation with CBD. However, there is anti-inflammatory, and I don't know the exact term, but just like anti-anxiety within the CBD. So it's more calming, more anti-inflammatory, but absolutely zero euphoria. If you need something a little bit stronger, you're in actual pain, you have full-on anxiety attacks. That's where the THC key, Delta 9 is the one you're looking for, is going to unlock, and you are going to feel euphoric, and you're also going to get those other benefits of, anti-inflammatory, anti-anxiety, but you're also going to get more of a push. It's more like all at once, they all unlock at the same time. Whereas CBD, it's going to be more slow release. And then you have CBN, which is more, well, you have CBN, CBG, they all do something different. And so, depending on your body, you just want the right concoction.
Hmm.
So, I personally don't want CBG because I think it's too relaxing. I don't want to be tired pretty much ever. I would love to stay up all day and live life, but
Me too.
That's neither here nor there. But then THCA, it could be very energizing, and someone, wants that in their concoction every single day. So different cannabinoids unlock different receptors.
Mm.
And so it's just which ones are right for you. I would never give a child THC, for example. Why, they can have all the benefits without the euphoria.
Yeah.
They can have that when you're older.
I like a THC, but sometimes I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I'm not functional right now.
Yes. And then it's like the percentages too.
Yeah.
So some CBD you'll see has 0.03% THC. That is just something they put in there to create the entourage effect and ensure that what the entourage effect is every single receptor is being stimulated. So that will have at least 0.03 of every single cannabinoid we know of. And so that's why they put that little THC in there. It's possible you could drug test positive, but that amount of THC would never get you high. So that's kind of what they call, full spectrum is getting it all. And that's great too. We could go all into the terpenes and the tastes and the smells. It's
It's
fun
great.
stuff.
It's wild. When someone gets drug tested, they only drug test for the THC. Will CBD
Yeah.
get picked up too, or no?
If you have So CBD, no. If you have a pure 100% CBD tincture, you will not fail a drug test. But if you have full spectrum CBD, which is the full cannabinoid spectrum, even though it's called CBD, it does have trace amounts of THC, which no matter how much there is, the test is going to pick it up.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. Okay, so
Like
who
positive.
are your clients? Like who are your people? If somebody were to like work with you, who's your ideal client? Like what people do you help?
I help people that are looking to try a new holistic treatment like cannabis, actually cannabis, or people that have had cannabis before and want to get it legally or
Mhm.
legally again. So a ton of our clients, call us and say, "Oh, I had cannabis 20, 30 years ago. It was super fun, but now my knees hurt. What can I do?" And I'm like, "Perfect. Talk to one of our providers. It's going to take literally 5 minutes, and then you can get a medical card and be at a dispensary within a few days." So, I mean, what's nice about that is everyone has a different experience and every single person talks to the doctor. So, you're going to get a good opinion on what you should do, how much you should try, what kind you should try in a unique consultation. So, anyone that's interested in cannabis or is reinterested is my client.
Okay, I love it. Is there anything we didn't talk about? I'm sure I mean, you like you said, you could go into all the different strands and stuff, but is there anything like overarching that you've learned along the way or that you want to leave the listeners with?
I love that. We did a lot between like life and, doing things young and not caring what people think. And then also like all this cannabis industry knowledge. My favorite quote at this time is done is better than perfect.
Mm.
If you are starting a new business or an entrepreneur or interested in learning things about cannabis, whatever you're doing doesn't have to be perfect because 99% of people won't even try. So if you just get the check mark of done, you just beat out a lot of people. And if you just do that every single day, one more check mark, by 27, you're the CEO of a telemedicine company.
So good.
Just
Such a great
just check marks
reminder.
every day, a
I
little
love
bit.
that. I love that. And you are so inspiring to be, like I said, so young and so ambitious. I mean, I think a lot of people don't take any of those risks or those leaps till later in life. I mean, even people my age are still like, oh, when's that, when is the next journey for us? So it's really cool to see someone so young being so ambitious. So continue to inspire that generation because I think we need more of it for sure.
Thank you. And I think, a lot of people get the same trust fund that I do. And that's the trust fund of tenacity. People
Mhm.
people don't always get cash and that's fine. And neither did I. But if you work hard and you're down to, put in some grit, you can do it. I mean, every single day people become millionaires and do not come from money. So that's what I remind myself.
I love it. I'm so glad we got connected. I definitely want to follow your journey because I have a feeling I know cannabis is definitely every year is just getting juicier and juicier. So I think there's so much opportunity for you to grow, and I can't wait to continue to watch you. So thank you for being on the show today.